Hello everyone, welcome to our webinar here today. We're going to be talking about PII Protection 101. So PII, Personally Identifiable Information, really critical to ensuring reputations are maintained when working in business and looking after that client-provider communication. So we're going to touch a little bit on PII and some of the things that you can do to manage that process. So let's kick into it. Now, a few news headlines here. And all these relate to 2022, when about 40% of the Australian population had their personal data stolen from Optus. It has been tagged as one of the worst data breaches in Australia's history, and a lot of people have been affected by that. Around the same time as also the Medibank hack. So if you're unfortunate enough to be in both customers of both organisations, there is your personal information would have been available, which is a big problem. Now, what we're going to talk about in the next few slides is what PII is and help you understand a little bit more about why you need to protect that and what the impact can be from that. If you want to have a little bit of an understanding of what the impact of that information can be, then I'll recommend going onto Google and look for stories that relate to people that were affected by the Optus and Medibank data breaches and what their stories are, like how they've been impacted by those. Because there are quite a few out there on some of the major news outlets, and it's important to understand that just the data being out there is a problem, and what that can mean and how that can impact you. So, but what we'll do now is we'll just get into a little bit about what personally identifiable information is. And there's a list here of what that includes. So it's essentially anything that can identify you as an individual. So on the dark web, you can go and purchase lots of different things. And one of the things that you can get are profiles on people and being able to attack those people based on certain properties and principles and knowledge of those people, because social engineering is a really common issue for cyber criminals to exploit some of the knowledge that they may have from data breaches. So just even knowing that you're an Optus customer can help them understand how they can attack you better by pretending to be Optus or pretending to be Medibank if they know you're a customer of that organisation. So really important to control who has your personally identifiable information, including your name, your phone number, your address, your email address, driver's license, tax file number, bank details. All of these things are important details about yourself. Anything that can help draw a picture, and you will want to ring fence as much as possible who you give this information. But how do you protect it? Businesses use data for lots of different purposes. There's obviously things that they need to collect to make sure that you are the person that you claim to be, so that they can verify that. But that being said, a lot of businesses will collect data that they don't really need as well. So if a business collects less data, then they're less responsible. So there's two sides to that coin. What you would ideally want to do is you want to really think about, does this business, this website, this company really need my data in order to provide the service that they're offering? So in the instance of marketing, then your data could be collected via cookies, which are little crumbs that are left on your computer to help identify you for future interactions on a website. Some websites will build their customer experience on their site based on this, so that you don't get the same information every time you go on there because they know you've already been there. Legitimate potential purpose. Another one could be fraud prevention and user verification. So if you ever deal with your accountants, they need to verify a bunch of details about you. And in the past, it may have been a case of, we'll scan your driver's license and send that in, and then we'll verify it, and we'll use that information to help you lodge a tax return or so forth. That now needs to change, because that information needs to be managed accordingly. So that can be done by web forms, it can be done by email, it can be done in many different ways. What you want to do is you want to make sure that you can strengthen your security. So you want to control what it is, you want to encrypt it, and you want to manage it. Now, I'll touch on quickly a story of just this week that I had with a company that we deal with quite frequently. We have a credit card that's expired, so that obviously needs to be updated. We need direct debit authority, and they sent through a PDF document just put your credit card details in here and we'll sort it out on the system. It doesn't really make sense to do and to send back via email because it is not encrypted. It's not protected in any way, and people can use that information to then be used elsewhere. So we need to be thinking third and fourth dimensionally about how your data is being accessed, stored, and used, and what the risks are of that. Because if my email was hacked, or the people that I was sending it to was hacked, which is quite a common attack vector at the moment, then the information, they could start transacting on my credit card. So we need to really think about, does this company need this information, and do they need it in this format? How do we protect PII? So much like anything else we want to protect, we want to use a lot of the standard sort of things. We want to use strong, unique passwords per app, service, or company that you deal with. That when that company gets breached, not if, it's really a case of when, at least they'll only have the password to that one account, because the dark web builds a database of your email address, and these are the known passwords. So let's go try that against LinkedIn. Let's try that against your email. Let's try this against a lot of other things. So strong, unique passwords, and use two-factor authentication everywhere that you can. If you don't have if the company that you're dealing with doesn't offer two-factor authentication, seriously reconsider using that company, because they obviously don't take cybersecurity seriously. You want to let them choose not to share your info. You need to have that choice. It is your information. It is not their information. They need to provide you that choice. Coming back to the application or solution choice, and what I said was two-factor. If the application or solution does not meet some of these requirements or give you an indication that they take it seriously, don't use it. There's a million different apps out there that do different things that will help you achieve what you want to achieve. Make sure that cybersecurity is part of your decision-making process in that front. You can manage your cookie preferences in your browser. Most people don't bother to go do that, but it is a good idea to consider doing that to prevent people from tracking what you're looking at. And I would encourage you to read their policies. Rather than just going, terms and conditions are here, I'm going to click the checkbox so that I can just move past and get done what I need to do. Really have a look at the terms and conditions and make sure that they align with your beliefs as how they're handling the data. Now, Tech Intent, we like to be as practical as we can with the advice. So we've got a whole bunch of things here that you can practically do. And just following on from the cookies example, one good example that you can use to solve that problem is to use a private browser. Good private browser that is widely regarded is one called Brave. Have a look at Brave and understand the principles of that browser and what they're trying to achieve, and consider using that. Restrict what you share on social media. Advertisers will bring that information together and hackers can use that to their advantage. So try to restrict what you share on social media. Protecting PII with Microsoft 365 if you use that for your business. There is a bunch of Microsoft 365 is designed for enterprise and it can scale down to small business. So it has a lot of the high level governance that you would expect from a larger organization that you can bring into a small business and apply very easily. So data loss prevention is very easy to enable, and it will help you through a couple of clicks in the wizard enable protection of PII like credit card details, health details, and financial details. So I would definitely be considering looking at that. Only share the bare minimum of PII. That comes back to what we were talking about a little bit before, and you'll see a link at the bottom of those links there that says these are all the data breaches that happened in 2024. Have a look at that list. It is extensive. There are a lot of companies that have exposed your data. Really consider who you share that data with and try to minimize that as best as possible. And taking advantage of information management apps. What this really means is that rather than taking your credit card and just sending that in a PDF form, that company really should use a service that provides the necessary security and compliance in order to protect your credit card details and make sure you don't have fraudulent transactions. So there's companies like Stripe and other payment gateways that are PCI DSS compliant, that have a bunch of different security measures in place, and they protect the transactions that are happening and the access to that data. So try to use that. DocuSign have brought out an identification verification process, an ID verification check for, is this person who they say they are? So you don't need to click the driver's license anymore. They can fill in the details and they manage the security of that. You're effectively outsourcing the security of that data. So definitely try to use those. So there's some of the practical tips. That's all we have today. So we're ready to take any questions. If anybody has any questions, I'll just jump into the Q&A section here, which is the button up on the top of the webinar. So please post any questions you have there. So one question that we do have is, how can encryption help secure PII when transferring between a client and a provider or a company? So encryption will make sure the data is unreadable to those that don't have the necessary decryption capability. So it just means that the people need to be authorized before the information is transmitted, and then it's encrypted. That means that it's basically it's garbage information unless they have that capability. So what are some of the common risks of transferring PI via email or other communication channels? Text message is a good example of another communication method. If your iCloud account gets hacked, somebody puts another iPhone or iPad device onto your account, they can read all your text messages. So keep that in mind. If people get unauthorized access to your email account or your iCloud account, that becomes accidental disclosure. That can be disclosure by accident. It could be accidental. It could be a hack. There's lots of different ways that can impact on the information that is transmitted via email. The problem is with that is that you don't actually know what's been accessed. So you wouldn't then need to go to the nth degree of looking at everything that's in your email to be confident that what has been transmitted there has not been that is secure. So much like anything, a standard process that we do for passwords, for instance, is to send that information via an expirable link. So after 7 days it expires, therefore it's no longer accessible. So when you do need to transmit that, try to use links that expire to your cloud storage, your like a temporary password tool like pwpush.com. That's what we use. They're just some good examples that can help you avoid these sort of measures, because it's more likely to be a when, not an if. And last one we have here is, how can providers ensure that clients understand the importance of protecting their PII? So look, you can try to educate them through clear communication, and make sure that you are sending privacy notices and offering them things that make them aware of the security risks of that. The other side of that is show them the articles of all the people that are impacted by breaches of data. That's a really easy way to communicate. This is the potential impact of something like this not being followed through in the correct process. So using a third-party source of truth can also bring some authority to that argument. And I think that's all we have as far as questions at the moment. So hopefully that was valuable. If you have any questions that you'd like to send through, please use the contact information that we have there. We have a form on the website, quamba.com.au/tech-in-10 is where you can find some more information. There's also a form there to request future topics that we can cover. So if you've got anything that interests you or you would like to find out more about, please let us know. Otherwise, I will leave it there and have a great day. Thanks.